You and I probably have a lot in common. I'm a mom. I work hard to provide for my family. I have goals and dreams, things I'm good at and things I wish I did better. A few years ago, I was on a treadmill. I think most of us find ourselves there at one time or another. We find ourselves repeating the same old habits and patterns, not really going anywhere. And maybe the treadmill we're on isn't even ours. Maybe it's made up of the expectations of other people. At a critical time in my life, I had a couple of conversations that made me hit the big red stop button on the treadmill. Then I did something revolutionary. I stepped off. I looked around at my life and asked myself, is this what I really want? Some people would call that a midlife crisis, but I didn't radically change my clothing style or buy a sports car. Instead, I started making small changes to my habits and routines. What I noticed was that one small change led to another, and over time, the difference was revolutionary. I think most people define midlife as a certain age, but maybe that's just the time when we take what was given to us in the beginning of our lives and decide to mold it into what we want for us, and not for anyone else. You can make small changes that are revolutionary too, like maybe listening to a new podcast. It's just one small thing, but it also might just be revolutionary. Hello, beautiful humans. Welcome to my live stream today. It's good to see you all here. Today is Friday, May 30th, 2025, and we are on day 2 of jury selection in the Lori Vallow Daybell trial, Justice for Brandon Boudreaux. We have a lot to talk about today. I did plan on going live earlier today, and just things got derailed a little bit. Hey there, Lila. Hey, Michael. Good to see you guys here. There is a lot going on. So yesterday, right after I ended my live stream, announcing that we had 66 potential jurors who are going to appear live in the courtroom this afternoon, there was another hearing. And I don't know if some of you may have seen me appear on Crush's channel last night. I put appear in quotes because I just was on audio because I was out running errands. But they went over a little bit of this hearing. So I have seen some of it. It was wild. It was really wild. Lori made some more demands and said some more crazy things. Then this morning, apparently, before the hearing or before the jury selection process continued, the judge finally made the decision that he's not really going to allow Lori to talk anymore during these motion hearings. And I'll get to that. I'll get to that report. I'm going to report that to you, along with an update on what happened with jury selection this morning. We will actually watch together that hearing from yesterday, and I will have some commentary. It's only a 22-minute hearing. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but we'll play some snippets from it, as well as a little bit of legal explanation from my friend Mike King of Profiling Evil. I'm going to show one of his videos, just a little clip of one of his videos. And then we will go to what's happening live in the courtroom as jury selection continues. Now, there are no cameras in the courtroom, not yesterday nor today, because of jury selection. They want to keep the identity of the jurors private. So what the hearing from yesterday, there was a pool camera sitting there waiting just in case Judge Boreski decided to address many of these some of these many outstanding motions. And indeed, he decided to do that. And so the pool camera was there ready to go. They missed just the first little bit of that hearing that happened. And then they recorded almost until the end of everything that took place yesterday afternoon in the courtroom after I ended my live stream. And then, so this morning, again, there's no camera in the courtroom for the jury selection process, but I am going to be reading information from people who are in the courtroom, who are sending me information, as well as we're going to visit X as well. So I'm just trying to look at comments just a little bit, but if you would call attention visually, if you have a question with a colored emoji or with several question marks, that would be really helpful. Thanks everybody for being here. And also thanks to all of you who reached out about being mods for me. I have not had a time to read all of my emails, but I briefly scanned over them. So I appreciate everybody who reached out, and I will be getting back to you. It would be helpful if you are interested in being a mod, if you would send me your YouTube username. That way I have to have that to put you in the channel. So we're going to get started here. We just have so much to go over, and forgive me if I'm a little bit giddy. I was really angry when I woke up this morning. I was angry because this whole process makes me angry. Just there's so much. Lori has wasted so many people's lives, and I had a really hard time sort of focusing and getting my brain centered this morning. And I went to go meet somebody because I was trying to buy a portable air conditioner off of Facebook Marketplace. And they wanted to meet in the parking lot of a grocery store. And I got there and hadn't heard from them. So I went in to go buy some groceries. And I was listening to Kresha's live, and I just could not get myself together. I really just could not. I was just standing in the aisle listening to Kresha's live, doing nothing, just thinking, why am I feeling so angry about all of this today? I think anger comes for me in waves, just like grief does about this whole situation. And I started digging in my purse looking for my chapstick, and I found my Justice for Tylee JJ, Charles, and Tammy. And I wish Brandon's name was on here too. But it just, it happened to be kismet. I found it in my purse. And I felt it was just a little hug. And so I put it on, and I'm feeling a lot better thinking about how Lori has been shut down by Judge Boreski. So let's get to that real quick. I'm going to share my screen with you so that you can see the X feed of Nate Eaton. That is where this information is going to come from. So we're going to skip just a little bit because I want to show you the part that is the main story here. I want to start out with the important information first, and then we'll go back and look at what's been happening with jury selection. Trina K asks, this was right there at the beginning of jury selection. Trina K asks if we're going to deal with the outstanding motions, and the Judge Boreski responds, quote, "Given what happened yesterday, I think it would be a safer course of action to issue written rulings." So what that means is that the judge is no longer going to hear argument on these motions. He's no longer going to listen to what Lori has to say because of what happened yesterday, and we'll get to that as well. So he's just going to write these rulings, and I think that's what he's working on right now during the lunch break. Actually, they're back in court. They should be back in court already by now, so I'm pretty sure that he is going to be issuing his written rulings. In fact, I'm going to take just a second to text Joe Schmo real quick so that I can ask him to be on the lookout for those. Let me mute myself while I do talk to text real quick. Okay, sorry. I just wanted to get that out there to Joe Schmo. So yes, it is about time that Judge Boreski put his foot down. And I think what we saw happening yesterday after Lori, she did that verbal request for him to recuse himself from the case. In fact, let's just watch that together, because I always enjoy that little 20-second clip.
I've ruled on the motions as required by law.
Without any kind of conclusion of law in them, just denied. Does that not show a bias and a prejudice against one single person?
All right. Are you done?
Are you not going to recuse yourself?
No, I'm denying your motion. Anything else?
I just love that. It makes me smile. So after that happened, then Lori issued a written motion for the judge to be removed from the case. And that motion was heard yesterday morning by Judge Green, who is the magistrate judge over the entire area. And Judge Green denied her motion to have a new judge as well. So I think after that happened, Judge Boreski probably just said, look, I've been trying to give as much help and advice, not necessarily advice, but leeway, making room for Lori so that there's no grounds for appeal. He's been trying to help her out since she's a pro se defendant. And I think now he's at the point where he's like, okay, it's on the record. I've been as patient and as accommodating as I can possibly be to this defendant. And she just continues to ask for my removal and do other ridiculous things. So I'm not doing that anymore. I think he's fed up at this point, and I'm grateful. So good to see you, McSpunky. Good to see all of you channel members. Thank you so much for being here. You guys' comments are making me smile. I can't read all of them, so I just appreciate you. Hey, insightful one. I apologize I can't call you all out and say hello to you, but those of you who I know, beyond the channel, I have to say hi to as well. Okay, so now what we're going to do is go and look at what has happened so far with jury selection, and then we'll go and look at yesterday's hearing. So it's spicy if you have not seen it yet. Definitely spicy. I really like that Lori is now in the position where she is not getting her way. So I love it. Okay, so here we go, back up to what has been happening today in the courtroom. Nate Eaton says jury selection continues. Yesterday, 66 potential jurors advanced from the group of 295. And Nathan says today's group of jurors did not fill out the e-questionnaire. They showed up at the courthouse today as walk-ins. Judge Boreski has read through 12 jurors so far. Many of them don't speak or understand English. Others have hardships. So far, none of the 12 have advanced. Lori is dressed in a black pantsuit with a purple top. She's allowed to be in street clothes because jurors will be brought in this afternoon for in-person voir dire. Her advisory attorneys are here. We're on juror number 18. A total of 25 will be read this morning. Judge is moving fast. Judge has finished the list. Total of 68 jurors will report at 1:15 p.m. for in-person. So they just started that in-person process here just a few minutes ago. Only 2 advanced from this morning's group, so that's a total of 68. Judge asks if the parties had a chance to look at the preliminary instructions. Lori is consulting with her advisory attorney. Now, I don't remember. I do have my notebook here with me from when I was in person in Arizona, which somebody asked, and I will not be in person until the verdict and the sentencing. It was not good for me to be there in person last time. It was too much of a toll on too many things in my life, and so I made the decision to stay here. But I do have my notebook, and I'm curious to look and see how many jurors we chose from last time, or if somebody remembers. It turns out I forgot that I went home on the weekend. So I have my notebook is by date here. And I was like, where did jury selection go? Let's see. Nope, I did not. I did not take any notes that day for jury selection. Oh, because I was on Twitter. Duh. I live tweeted it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I can go back and look another time. So anyway, 68. That's where we're at. Lori wants some clarification about a particular jury instruction. Boreski is reviewing it. Judge says he will take a look at the rule and asks if there are any other concerns or questions about jury instruction. Lori has an issue where it talks about the actual charge. Should it read the attempt instead of commission? And I think that particular instruction was about the attempt of the crime rather than the commission of the crime. Yeah, and this is a good point. I listened to Lauren's live earlier. Same percentage, this and last, who knew about the case. It's 42% of the jurors who answered the electronic questionnaire knew about the case in advance. And I thought it would increase because of the media attention, the 2 interviews that Lori did, but apparently it's the same percentage that knew about the case. Oh, hey, Smiling Jack's 83. Sorry, I didn't recognize you. Okay, so back to this. The attempt instead of the commission, she asks. We don't have the jury instruction, so unsure what the context is. I'm sure that it's about the attempt of the crime or the commission of the crime versus those 2 words. State responds that the wording is correct. Lori has no other issues with the instructions. Trina K asks if we're going to deal with the outstanding motions. He responds, quote, given what happened yesterday, I think it would be a safer course of action to issue written rulings. So no, Lori, you don't get to argue anymore. Trina wants to put on the record that when she references Charles's murder, she will say, quote, an incident in Chandler in July 2019 involving Lori Vallow and Alex Cox, as the case is not allowed to be mentioned in the trial. Boreski clarifies that the state is attempting to comply, I think he means, to comply with the order to not reference any of her prior cases. That's why it will be referred to as an incident on July 11th, 2019. Boreski asks Lori if there's anything else. Lori asks, when I have anyone on the stand who has testified prior in Idaho, can I use the terminology you testified in an earlier hearing so we don't go into what the trial is? How do you want me to handle that? Boreski says to use in a prior proceeding. Lori wants further clarification on how she should address it. Boreski tells her to consult with her advisory attorneys about how to handle it. Don't ask me. It's not my job to explain it to you. Nothing further this morning. Trina K says Brandon Boudreaux will be here this afternoon in person, I think is what that means. We'll be back around 1:15 for jury selection. So I do think, I know that Brandon has been watching the proceedings via Zoom. That's been reported on by several people. Joe Schmo says that he just checked 30 minutes ago to see if, I have a power. Oh, no, I don't. Okay. To see if the judge had submitted anything or if the documents were available for the judge's written rulings, and it's not there. So I just wanted you guys to know. So I'm back here on Nate's X page looking to see if he has started with this afternoon's proceedings yet. Hello? Where did his posts go? They are gone. Oh, something went wrong. I thought I was having a power problem there for a second, and I'm not having a power problem, but I am apparently having a Twitter problem or an X problem. This is not my favorite platform, but it is good for things like this. Let me go back and see maybe if I can get Justin's profile to come up. I apologize for the delay, you guys. Nope, not coming up either. Let's see if my profile is up. Nope. Interesting. Refreshing. And maybe I will just go ahead and I'm going to stop sharing that so that I can close the tab and come back in. Interesting. Okay, so it's not showing. Well, that's okay because what we're going to do now anyway is we're going to go to watching the hearing, and I'm just looking at chat here for a second to see. I did star a couple of questions. Yeah, and we're going to talk about this as we look at this hearing. Attempt means steps were taken, but you don't actually commit the crime, where the word commission means the crime took place. So yeah, thank you for that. But we're going to talk about that a little bit because Lori brings up some of this in the hearing as well. Ask your attorney, doofus, is probably what he was thinking in his head, but he didn't say that out loud. Yeah, rack belt can only be activated if she is a physical threat or if she tries to escape. But I can fantasize on a thumbnail, can't I? I mean, I think we all have probably imagined what might happen if that were the case. And Idaho Spud Girl, you're not the only one who wants to see that happen. Yeah, X is having a problem. So we're just gonna. Oh, it's been hacked. Ew, yikes. Oh, thanks. Saying that I look pretty. I do have a filter on, but hey, thanks for this, Deanna Showers. I really appreciate you. I'm glad you shower, or is that your last name? Just kidding. It's a little mom joke there. Okay. Yeah. Well, I have a couple of other places that I can look besides X. So we are going to go now and listen to the hearing. I was going to say thanks for saying that I look pretty. I have a filter on my face because I got up this morning with the intention of working up in my attic, and I got everything all set up there. And then I remembered that I had to go meet that lady for the portable AC. So I got up, I put my hair up in a bun, I threw on some work in the attic clothes, and then I went to do that and I got completely derailed. I did some grocery shopping. I thought, while I was in the grocery store, actually, I decided to do a little bit of self-care, and I bought myself a treat. I told you I was just standing there in the aisle not knowing what to do. And I happened to be standing in the aisle where they have foreign foods, and they had British foods. And so I was, ADHD much? Yes, that was exactly it. I forgot to take my medicine. And the other day when I forgot to take my medicine and I took it later in the afternoon, I was up until 1 a.m. So I didn't do that again today. I just took a small dose of medicine, which means it should wear off here in about 10 minutes. Just kidding. Anyway, I was standing there in the British aisle or the foreign food aisle, and I realized there were a lot of British treats over there. And I said, I love all things British. I've been looking for Jammy Dodgers here for the longest time and have not been able to find any. But I found these lovely biscuits. For those of you who don't know, in Great Britain, they call their cookies biscuits. And they call their muffins crumpets. And what we call an English muffin, they of course, call a muffin. So if you say you want a muffin in England, you're going to get what we call an English muffin. If you want what we call a muffin, you have to ask for a crumpet. And if you want what we call a cookie, you have to ask for a biscuit. I think I have that correct. And then what we call biscuits in the UK, they call scones. And what we call scones, at least the scones that I remember in Utah, are what they call beignets in New Orleans. Anyway, I hope everyone has all that correct. Sorry for this ADHD moment, but I had to buy myself a treat. And I thought, butter stem ginger shortbread. These are delightful. They have just a little bit of caramel in them, and they have a little hint of ginger, and I just absolutely love them. And they don't have any of those weird additives or preservatives that we have in stuff here in the US. So I think these are going to become a mainstay around my house, these Walker's biscuits. And I also bought myself a little treat. I love Legos. I don't know if you guys know this about me or not. These are Lego orchids behind me over here that one of my sons gave me for Mother's Day. And so I decided to buy a minifigure. These are so fun because you never know what you're going to get. It's like a little surprise, kind of like we used to get in the Cracker Jack box. Crumpets aren't the same as American muffins. I've never seen a crumpet here, unfortunately. Well, I'm going to look up a crumpet recipe and I'm going to see how they differ because I love to bake. In fact, when I got home from the grocery store today, I almost decided to make a cherry pie, but then I realized I had work to do to get ready for this live. So here, I'm going to open this minifig and put it together right here while we talk so that you can see what surprise I got today on the day when I needed a little bit of extra TLC and self-care. So here is the graphic. These are the different ones that you can get. There are 12 of them. So should we see what I got? And maybe I won't put it together right this second, but I'll do it while we're listening to the hearing. Okay, well, you guys, I can't tell just by looking in it. So you guys can vote on which one you think I'm going to get here. And then I'm going to go to the video and I'll put it together while we're watching. So let me share. I love that Mike King's live is called Lori Daybell Still Has a Fool for an Attorney. Okay, let's go ahead and full screeny. And I think I have it on 2x still. Oh, it's normal. Okay, got it.
Capital case.
I know it's not a capital case, and in normal capital cases, you don't have an aggravation phase either, right? Only in a capital case.
Actually, you have a guilt phase, and then you have a mitigation aggravation phase.
Actually, have a guilt phase, an aggravation phase, and a penalty phase.
Right.
If the aggravators aren't found as a completely separate independent hearing, then there's no penalty phase.
So with the statute for this charge only being the one statute, what are you getting out of the aggravation phase? I don't understand.
Well, first of all, the jury in the initial phase doesn't determine whether or not it's a dangerous felony, which they need to find. And then the aggravators, I think the state has a right to attempt to prove those to the jury, to offset any mitigation or to be weighed against mitigation at your sentencing.
And isn't that normally put together with the guilt phase? Like they would have that on the back page where it says the aggravators and the guilt?
No.
So are we going to have a whole nother aggravator phase in this case?
If the jury finds you guilty of the charge and the state wants to proceed with aggravators, yes.
And so we do not have to have a hearing to determine if there's probable cause for these aggravators?
No.
That's not how that works.
They're just
Lori.
alleged aggravators.
Correct.
And the grand jury never found probable cause for them.
Correct.
So you're saying that if the guilt phase goes through and they find you guilty, then you have an aggravator phase added to that.
That's what I said.
Okay.
I'm just going to pause here because Lori should know this already. We've already been through this. She already had an aggravator phase in her last trial. We went through the aggravation phase. She stipulated to it. Because she didn't want to hear the victim impact statement that would have come in for the aggravating factors. She wanted to be done after she was found guilty. She did not want to sit in the courtroom anymore and listen to anything else. And so she stipulated to the aggravation phase, which I pointed out, it's kind of hard for you to ask for a new trial when you stipulate that the crime that you were just found guilty of was a dangerous offense and caused harm, financial harm, and mental and emotional hardship to the victim's family. She stipulated to all of that. So she's been through the aggravation phase. She knows how it's supposed to go. And I think that she is just intentionally misunderstanding. She is intentionally bringing up this issue, pretending like she doesn't know what's going on. I just think it's exhausting. So this is correct. This whole discussion should have been had with her advisory council. And I think that Lori has mistaken Judge Boreski's accommodation for weakness or for kindness. And this is what happens when you give a narcissist or someone with narcissistic traits, because I'm not diagnosing her, when you give them any leeway, they will exploit it as much as they possibly can. And I think that's what Lori is doing and has done with the judge's accommodation. And I agree. This is exactly why Judge Boreski won't do it in person anymore, only written. He is done. So anyway, let's go on with the rest of this little hearing.
Hold on one second.
Most attorneys would have said, "May I have a moment, Judge?" But not Lori.
You have the allegation of aggravating.
Okay.
It was on my desk.
Your Honor, I would just like it to be on the record clear that the Rule 13.5 that I'm talking about is about non-capital cases. I know in capital cases, they call it a Cronus hearing, but this is for non-capital.
Oh, sorry, you guys. Hang on one second. My AirPod just died, and that turned off the video.
Case.
Okay, I think we can probably skip this part. So I'm going to fast forward just a little bit.
Well, it says under 13.5A, a defendant may challenge the legal sufficiency of the state's allegations by filing a motion under Rule 16. Is that what you're talking about?
Correct.
It doesn't say you get a probable cause hearing regarding the aggravators.
Well, I'm challenging the state's allegation of aggravators by asking for a 13.5 hearing on it.
And I don't think that's
So
the right thing
the
to ask
state's
for.
aggravators that they've alleged is that the offense involved the infliction or threatened infliction of serious physical injury. The offense involved the use, threatened use, or possession of a deadly weapon or dangerous instrument during the commission of the crime, specifically a gun. The offense involved the presence of an accomplice. The offense caused physical, emotional, or financial harm to the victim, or if the victim died as a result of the conduct of the defendant, caused emotional or financial harm to the victim's family. The next one is the defendant was previously convicted of a felony within the 10 years immediately preceding the date of the offense. This one's really not very specific. Any other factor that is relevant to the defendant's character or background. So if you were found guilty by a jury of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, which of these aggravators do you think there's not legal sufficiency for a jury to determine? Because they seem pretty inherent in the charge itself, except for your prior convictions, which, are you saying you don't have the prior convictions within 10 years?
No, I'm not saying that. Which of them don't qualify for the jury to make that determination?
No, you're asking for me to make a determination that there's a legal sufficiency for them to go to the jury.
Correct.
So I'm asking you, if you were found guilty by a jury of the charged offense, which of those aggravators that have been alleged by the state do you think there would not be legal sufficiency for? Because as I look at those aggravators, most of them are inherent in what you're being found guilty of. Again, if the jury found you guilty, for example, the first aggravator, it involved the infliction or threatened infliction of serious physical injury. The allegation is someone shot at the victim. That's the threatened infliction of serious physical injury. So it seems like that allegation, there's sufficient evidence for a jury to decide whether that's an aggravator. The next one, the offense involved the use, threatened use, or possession of a deadly weapon or dangerous instrument during the commission of a crime. Again, if you were found guilty of the charge, as the state has alleged, the jury would find that a gun was used. So that's a separate aggravator, again, that would already be determined by the evidence. The state is
Sorry, you guys. I muted so that, yeah, there's breaking news coming up, and that's why I stopped the video, because I saw on Twitter that Judge Boreski has said something came up, and it says, back in the courtroom, Judge Justin Boreski says something has come up in the Lori Vallow Daybell case that will prevent further jury selection today. He does not explain further. What? That was on Nate Eaton's feed. Let's go see if Justin Lum has anything additional to add to that. Oops, that's the wrong Justin Lum. Nothing jury related, only motions. So nothing. His is all from early. Oh, wait. 6 minutes ago, watching the pool of jurors walk back into the courtroom, dozens of people, all ages and backgrounds, men and women with neon green court stickers on. Judge now hearing from jurors, raising their hands, bringing up hardships, but he doesn't report the same thing that Nate just did. So I'm going to go back to Nate and see. All the potential jurors are in the courtroom, and Boreski is asking who would not be able to come back on Monday. Multiple jurors raised their numbers, and the judge is questioning each of them. So something has come up in Lori Vallow Daybell case that will prevent further jury selection today. But now he's asking the jurors if they can come back in person on Monday. Okay, but I call BS on this, because if they filled out the jury questionnaire and they know that they've been given the dates of the case. The dates of the case are on the jury questionnaire, and they've asked for jurors to stay all the way through June 23rd. And if they're answering now that they can't be there on Monday, what is up with that? And also, I think this is true. I don't know for sure, but if there's a question, if the trial doesn't start Monday, Judge Boreski's off the case because he does have trainings to go to, et cetera. But I don't think necessarily, because I don't know. Anything I would say is speculation at this point. Judge Boreski thought we would have a jury seated today. I don't think the judge was removed. Because yesterday the chief magistrate at the Maricopa County Courthouse denied Lori's motion to have Judge Boreski removed. I don't know what it could be. Judges, yeah, he asked who was coming up. I do believe that Lauren Matthias is there, and I'm asking Joe Schmo, because he's my boots on the ground there as well. Yeah, court is dark for 1 week, but not until, I think, the week of the 6th. Okay, I'm going back to, I did ask Joe Schmo to let me know what was going on. I'm going to go back and refresh this because Nate seems to be reporting thoroughly here. So this is just happening. If you're just joining us, guys, we've been trying to monitor jury selection, but it turns out that the judge has said that something happened and we can't continue with jury selection. The original plan was for the jury to be picked this afternoon with opening statements on Monday. But there's no new information about what's going on. So many jurors have work obligations, health issues, or other conflicts that they say will prohibit them from coming on Monday. Well, if they aren't able to come on Monday, they wouldn't be able to serve on the jury anyway. So that I just don't know. The problem, Zara, I think, and by the way, thank you for being here. And Zara has been helping me out with some investigation, and I'm so grateful for everything you contributed yesterday, Zara. It switches around the dates of the trial, but the problem is Judge Boreski has trainings that are going on later in early in July, I believe. Originally, the timeline for this case, the judge was asking if we needed to even ask jurors to stay all the way through July 4th. But then Trina Kay objected to that because she thought we would lose a lot of people due to holiday travel, etc. So I don't know. Maybe Lori has decided not to represent herself going forward. Oh, and that's right. I remember this too. Judge Boreski's being rotated out of this courtroom. And so after his trainings are over, that he's going to be, he'll have a different assignment entirely. So it would be a different judge, I think. Here's the thing. Even if, okay, let's just hypothetical here for a second. Let's just take a beat, take a minute, take a breath. We can't continue today. Let's say that in-person jury selection, continues first thing on Monday morning. Last time, that in-person jury selection only took a couple of hours. We had a jury by the end of that day, and then we were excused from court for the rest of the week, which was totally unexpected. So if the in-person jury selection starts back up again on Monday and they get a jury seated, maybe we could do opening statements Monday afternoon. Maybe we just do opening statements Tuesday. So it really only delays things by 1 day. And I know the judge has padded in some extra time. And remember, again, we don't know if Lori's going to mount a defense or not. But if she does, I think she only has like 4 people on her witness list. We don't even know yet if those people have been subpoenaed or if they have been approved. The state gets to interview them before they are called to testify. And so we have no idea right now at this moment if Lori even has witnesses or if she's going to put on a defense. So I don't know if this will get Judge Boreski removed from the case or not. So yesterday, I remember, okay, other way around. Thank you, Lindsay. Trina wanted to screen through the fourth. Judge objected to that. Yesterday, the chief magistrate, Judge Green, did say to Lori that whatever it was that she filed, I can't remember the numbers since I'm not an attorney, whatever it was she filed was the wrong thing to file under. She said this wouldn't be heard under, I think, a 13 point something. So maybe she consulted with her advisory council, and her advisory council told her another way that she could ask for Judge Boreski to be removed. So it's possible that she did file some other type of motion. I definitely think this is related to Lori. Yeah, so Zara's reiterating all this does is shift the dates, but the concern is if the judge is being rotated out and he's got, trainings and stuff, will there be enough time for him to still hear the entire case? I think that's the question. And yes, I've actually heard of this before too. Defendants in other cases do get rid of judges by rotation. And a lot of times attorneys will try to file for a continuance for one reason or another because they know the judge is being rotated out. I wonder if she has bailed on being her own lawyer. The witness lists, I don't believe, well, yes, I mean, we saw the witness lists. I had them on my channel when I was talking about those hearings. And so we do have them. We do know what they are, but we don't know if Lori's witnesses have been subpoenaed and interviewed by the prosecution, which is what has to happen prior to trial, prior to, all of that happening. I do think it's going to be fine. I don't think this is a huge problem, but I am a little bit concerned about the timeline implications for this. So I'm going back to Nate's feed here, just so that we can see. Many jurors have childcare issues. One has non-refundable plane tickets. Oh, that's a different. That was from yesterday. Okay. Okay, this is just 3 minutes ago. So this is correct. Many jurors have childcare issues. One has non-refundable plane tickets. One has tickets to take her grandkids to the movies. What? Okay. Judge asks if anyone has looked up this case or any names involved in the case. Nobody raises their number. Judge asks if anyone would not be available to come to court next Friday for the trial. Originally, next Friday was supposed to be dark. Sounds like today's delay may bump everything back. Judge tells the group not to look up anything about this case. He's going to talk with the attorneys about who to let go and who to come back on Monday. He tells the jurors if they do not hear from the court, they need to return Monday. Again, please don't look up anything about this case. Don't talk to anyone about this case. Wow. Okay, so he's going to talk with the attorneys about who to let go and who to come back on Monday. And then, but he asked if anyone would not be available to come back to court next Friday for the trial. So now trial starting on Friday. Joe Schmo says the jury won't be seated today. All I know now is that there are unforeseen circumstances, quote unquote, unforeseen circumstances. Wow. I'm actually going to text, I'm not going to text Lauren because I know she's probably getting ready to go live right now, but I'm going to text her producer, Grayson. Let me mute myself while I talk to text real quick. Okay, just sent her a big long question, so maybe she will be able to tell us something. I'm going to go back and refresh again just to see if Nate has any more commentary about what's happening. Okay, judge tells the group not to load. Please don't look up anything. Don't talk to anyone about case. Judge apologizes for the delay and says it's due to unforeseen circumstances. It's not anyone's fault. Brandon Boudreaux and his wife are in court with a victim advocate. The jurors have left the room. Boreski says 3 of the 68 jurors did not show up. One of the jurors in the group has a camping trip on Friday. Trina Kay says she can check if her witness schedule can be adjusted and trial can be held next Friday. Wow. This is just wild, you guys. This was not on my bingo card. In fact, I was making a new bingo card for this trial because I had one for the last trial, and I think that we filled it out. Everybody hit bingo like on the second day of trial, and I even threw some stuff in there that I didn't think that was going to happen. Grayson confirms unforeseen circumstances, no other information available right now. Goodness gracious. This was not anything that I ever thought would happen. So I know the judge says it's nobody's fault, but I know also that he doesn't want the jury to be biased one way or another by what may or may not have happened. And so he's probably just not saying for that reason. So Zara says, according to Nate, sounds like everything is just going to be bumped back a little bit. So, but bump back until Friday, that's a little concerning to me just because I know of the timing circumstances we've already talked about. So I don't think this is a big deal other than the fact that I'm worried about that. Looking again at Nate. Okay. Judge reads through a list of juror numbers who said they would not be able to come back on Monday. Trina Kay says if all of them are dismissed, 54 jurors are left to come back on Monday for voir dire, and Lori agrees with that number. So I'm actually going to go back to my profile here and see if I can... I'm sorry for the errant noises that come out. So Grayson is coming back. Jurors were sent home. They released a few more for scheduling stuff. Because if I go to my feed, I'm going to have to scroll back for a long time because of all of these videos and everything else that I've posted since then, because that was way back on March 31st was the first day of jury selection. And it's a long ways, but I'll find it because I wanted to see how many we had last time. So in person, okay, well, I can't find it. Sorry, guys. I'll look for it later, and I'll do a post about it. I don't know what to say about this right now. All we can do is kind of speculate about what might possibly have been the reason for this, and it may come out at some later point, and it may not. We may never know the reason for this. Boreski's assistant is going outside to let the jurors know they can leave. He says he can be done with his questioning by noon on Monday, and the jury could possibly be seated by 3 p.m. He would then expect prosecution and defense to give their opening statements. Okay, all right. So we were supposed to be dark on next Friday. So what I'm guessing now, though, is what will happen is since we're losing today, that the judge will have court next Friday so that will keep us on schedule. I think that's the reason he was asking about Friday. So I think maybe that's what is going to happen. So the last trial, oh, thank you so much, Susie Catherine. That's very kind of you. So the last trial, jury selection began on March 31st, and it was March 31st and April 1st. And then the judge excused us for court for the rest of the week, and opening statements started on April 7th. And we went that week and the following week, and then we were done. That was it. And then the jury deliberated for a day, basically, and that was it. So, yeah, and Friday was normally a blackout day, but they are going to be in court on Friday, it looks like. And then last trial, we just went Monday through Thursday, but Judge Boreski has already said that trial would be Monday through Friday for this particular case because they wanted to get it done before he gets rotated out, I think. So refreshing Nate again here. Okay, Boreski has issued written rulings on the outstanding motions. Let me show the screen just in case anybody wants to read and see for themselves. Sorry, I missed a lot in chat, guys. So if you asked a question, I'm sorry, I didn't see it. Can you re-ask, please, with some emojis? The lawyer you know is live now, and the title says Lori gets a new judge. Oh my gosh. Guys, this makes me sad. I'm gonna point this out to Grayson. Thank you, Stacy. Grayson replied to me, no, she's not, LOL. I texted her, the lawyer you know is on YouTube live right now saying Lori is getting a new judge. And Grayson says, no, she's not, LOL, let me look. And then she's getting ready to pull documents. So just cool your jets, everybody. I don't think Lori's getting a new judge. It's clickbait. He's talking about yesterday's case, yesterday's hearing, where Lori asked for a new judge and the magistrate denied that motion. So it is just clickbait. Thank you guys for pointing that out. I was about to be really sad. I like Boreski just because, sorry, just a sec, confirmed clickbait. Grayson says she thinks that Lori is sick, and that may be what's happening. Thanks, guys. Thanks for your kind wishes. So let me go back to Nate again. I haven't. Okay. Judge distributes his rulings to the prosecution and the defense. Court is in recess. Lori leaves the courtroom. We'll have more tonight on Courtroom Insider at 8 p.m. Mountain. Boreski has issued written rulings on the outstanding motions. He will hand those out to the prosecutor and the defense. Judge tells Lori if she has issues in the jail and is quarantined, she should let her team know. He does not elaborate. So I wonder if she had a positive COVID test or a fake positive COVID. Yeah. Grayson says no one knows anything. So yeah, I guess that's going to be my, yeah, I appreciate you guys. Not clickbait. Lawyer, is talking about yesterday. It's possible that Lori was just exposed to COVID. And so if you're just joining us, thank you for being here. Sorry, if you're just joining us, thank you for being here. We've just found that jury selection will not continue today. It will continue on Monday morning. So this is my own personal speculation based on the tweet that we just read from Nate Eaton of East Idaho News. The tweet says Boreski has issued rulings, blah, blah, blah. And then he says, judge tells Lori if she has issues in the jail and is quarantined, she should let her team know. He does not elaborate. So my personal speculation, and this is coming just for me, is that probably there was some kind of an outbreak of an illness, maybe COVID, in the jail, and that Lori possibly maybe was exposed, and they're maybe just being cautious and waiting. So some quarantine tantrum. Yeah, it definitely. Breaking news: translated goddess gets COVID. Yeah, so that's all based on the fact that he mentioned quarantine. The only thing I can think of that she would be quarantined for would be a possible COVID exposure. And yeah, she was holding a Kleenex all day yesterday and we saw it online during the hearing that we were watching from yesterday. She had a Kleenex the whole day. So maybe she's not feeling well, and in an overabundance of caution, they're going to test her for COVID. I don't know. Speculation, that's all we can say. However, I'm going to address this in just a second. Thank you, Zara. I want to just finish my thought. So what is going to happen is that jury selection will continue on Monday morning. They should be finished by 3 p.m. The judge expects prosecution and defense to be ready with opening statements on Monday. He also asked if jurors would be available on Friday. Friday was originally going to be a day that the court would not be in session, a dark day, in other words. And the judge has now asked the jurors if they're available on Friday, which to me means that he's making up for today's snafu by holding court on Friday of next week. So it should not change the schedule. And then, so Joe Schmo is saying, judge mentioned quarantine at the jail, and if Lori can't make it on Monday, to let her team know. So there we go. Okay. She is in her own cell. She's already in isolation, as we know. Monday. Monday? Why did I say Monday? 23 hours a day, she's in her cell. So, okay. Insightful One says the facility my daughter works at just had a huge COVID outbreak. It's still a problem in jails, a lot, just because of the close proximity and the minimal exposure to outside. So Joe Schmo says there's lots of speculation. People are speculating about what's going to happen, but that's my only speculation. That's all I'm going to say about that, because I find it to be fruitless to speculate on possible scenarios, and we would waste a lot of time and energy doing that. So I don't think that it's any kind of shenanigans on Lori's part. I'm just reading through. Yeah, there's a lot of clickbait, I'm sure, going on. So yes, Lee T, I saw your email, but I did not get to read anything but the subject line, so I will get to that later today. Thank you for that. And I get inundated. So I always read through the subject lines, and then I star the ones that I need to look at right away. I'm just reading through, guys, just to see if anybody else. Okay. Now I do have a few questions that I starred. Heidi asks why, says, do you think that Lori truly believes she's a good lawyer? Yes, I do. I think she has what they call Dunning-Kruger syndrome, which is basically the very skill that you need to know, or the very skill that you need to be good at something is the same skill that you need in order to know whether or not you're good at something. So it's why we get on American Idol all of these people who are kind of delusional, thinking that they're great singers, but they're not. It's because they don't know they're not good. And I think that is the case with Lori right now as well. Paul Sorensen asks, knowing her family like you do, especially Barry, how much of this court and legal arguments are coming from him? In some of Lori's motions, I do hear in the tone of the writing things similar to what I have heard, Barry say and do before. For example, talking about our great Constitution and being emphatic in that way, and the over-the-top referencing of certain things. But I have no idea if he's actually helping her or not. It could possibly be the case, but I don't know. And then Traveler asks, why do you think Lori's putting up such a fight for these two trials when she virtually put up no fight for the Idaho trials? Well, I think this is just another stage for her. I think it's just another opportunity for her to grandstand and showcase. And she knows this is her last hurrah as well. This is the last time she's going to be in the public eye. And I think she just wants to kind of show off, She also has a persecution complex, in my opinion. And I believe that she can't possibly admit that she has any wrongdoing. Just everybody's out to get her. So just scanning one more quick time to see if there's anything new, and I don't see anything. And I honestly, I don't think that this is any shenanigans on Lori's part. Because honestly, I don't think she's creative enough to come up with this excuse to say, hey, if I pretend that I've been exposed to COVID, or if I pretend that I have COVID symptoms, maybe they will it'll delay the trial enough that Judge Boreski will get thrown out. I honestly don't think that she's creative enough to think about that, to be honest. Byington, I asked you this last time, if you happen to ever live in South Dakota, but you don't have to answer me. Lori has a crush on the judge. She'll do anything for his attention. She knows she has nothing to lose. My thoughts. Yeah, she thinks that she is the best lawyer as well as the smartest person in the room. Is she like Frank Abagnale? Catch me if you can. He pretended to be many things. No, Frank Abagnale was actually smart. He was smart and devious, let's put it that way. But he was smart enough that he never went to law school, but all he did was study for the bar exam and then pass it. So without ever having been to a single day of law school. He also became a professor at BYU. Did you guys know that? I don't know if you knew this or not. I don't know how he passed the interview with the member of the first presidency, or the member of the general authorities, because you have to pass an interview that you're a faithful Mormon in order to be a professor at BYU. But he did that. And he said, all I would do was just read one chapter ahead of where I was going to give the lecture the next week. And that's how he was able to pull that off. So he was actually very smart. I don't think Lori is that smart. She does want her way. I don't think Lori has ever spent time with her grandchildren, and she is not allowed to see them anymore. Colby said, no, you cannot be in her life. Sorry, just answering a text. Nobody knows anything. So I haven't heard anything new. I'm just scanning through chat to see if any of you guys sometimes you guys know more than I do, which is great. Was Lori always snotty? Yes, she was. Hey, Ravina, BYU sucks. U of U here. Oh, goodness. Lee T. Rex said last week that Lori isn't known for being the smart one in the family. He's bragged on your intelligence quite a few times. Well, that's kind of him to do. Yeah, Lori, I remember writing letters back and forth with her when we were both in high school and middle school, and sometimes they were badly spelled. I kind of wish I would have hung on to them. But Lori had a lack of understanding about homonyms and contractions and those kinds of things. So it was always interesting. It always just made me giggle a little bit. I, out of self-defense, became good at grammar and punctuation because my mother always used to correct my grammar when I was speaking. And she studied English for a couple of years at BYU, and she was very persnickety about me speaking properly. And I still have to stop myself, because anytime we would ask for something and we didn't say please, she would add on a please for us. So I'd say, "Can you pass me the potatoes?" And she would look at me and go, "Please." And I would have to say, "Can you please pass me the potatoes?" And even now, to this day, sometimes when kids ask me for things, I have to resist the urge to do that to them because it was so ingrained in my brain. So anyway, I would like to get back to the hearing, if that's okay, because we haven't finished playing the hearing from yesterday. And yesterday we were, I was on Crushes Live with Joe Schmo, and we were going through the hearing. I wasn't on there for a very long time, but I remember thinking to myself, okay, when I go over the hearing, I'm going to just play the hearing and give minimal commentary so people can have it without so many interruptions. And now here I am, having interrupted it for who knows how long, 20 minutes or something like that. Thunder Snow, I am sorry to tell you that Lori is 1 year older than me. I am 50, just turned 50 this year. So Susie Catherine, as an Idahoan, Arizona can keep her. Well, I think they are going to, she is going to go back to Idaho after these trials are over, I believe, because she was convicted there first. I believe she has to serve her time there first. Manners are important. I didn't mean to be, dismissive of that. Manners are important. It is important to teach your kids to say please and thank you, but I don't like the passive aggressive correction of, instead of saying please, or instead of saying, remember to ask please, passive aggressively went, please. I don't like that. I don't like passive aggressive teaching. Thank you so much for this. Super sticker, super chat, Naughty Shack. I don't know if I'm saying that right or not, or if it's Nadishak. I don't know, but I want to pronounce people's names correctly because nobody pronounces my name correctly. Well, not nobody, but a lot of people don't. Are you now grateful for your mother's insistence? No, not in that way. I am naturally a polite person anyway. I think my mom made the assumption that all kids are rude, and I don't like that. And I don't like the passive aggressive way that she did it, as I just said. So I wish that she had done it in a different way. Miss Sniff says Trina K came out and we asked if she could say anything else about this. She said she feels great. Okay, well, that's good to know. Thank you for conveying that, Mrs. Smith. I appreciate that. That's why I'm reading the chat. Reading is fundamental. Yes, Lori got much further with her looks and her manipulation tactics than she did with her brain. And I think that's part of the big reason why she's short-circuiting now, is because her typical tactics are not working for her anymore. They don't work in a courtroom. You can't manipulate in a courtroom. You have to stick to the rules. And I think that is what is absolutely driving her nuts. So Nadia is your name. Thank you. Appreciate that. Lovely. You guys are wonderful, beautiful humans. And I appreciate you being here. Thank you. Joel says, I recently watched the interview with you and your daughter. You really taught her well, my friend. She's a beautiful young woman. Thank you so much. That's so kind of you, Joel. That means the world to me. More than anything else, what gives me the greatest joy in my life is that I have good relationships with my children. And watching them become their own beautiful human beings and their own adults and to have their own lives, that gives me so much joy. And I am a grandma. I have 2 grandsons, one of whom was just born at the end of April, and I can't wait to see him again. And for those of you who have asked, thank you so much. He is doing much better. He seems to be thriving. His jaundice is gone, and he's gaining weight and everything, and we haven't yet gotten the genetic testing back that they did, so I don't have any kind of an update in that way, but thank you for asking. Yeah, what is Lori's thing about showing her shoulder? I don't know. I think she thinks it looks sexy, but I think it's ridiculous. Like she's trying to spice up her prison attire. Yeah, so I'm going to read now. I think there's a little bit of an update that we're on track for Monday. So just going back. Yeah, so I'm actually going to go now to Justin because I think that's where you said that came from, ? Okay, so I think I was on the right track there with that. I'm going to show my screen just in case anybody wants to see the receipts. I'm going to star a couple of things real quick and come back to them. So Justin says, Judge excused 11 who had some hardships. Hope is to get the 3 missing jurors in court on Monday, making the total 54. It's not a bad size pool, he says. Judge mentioned the word quarantine and being able to come to court on Monday. He didn't go further on how this impacted the day. Both prosecution and defense didn't comment further either. Trina K came out and we asked if she could say anything else about this. She said she feels great. Brandon Boudreaux was here in person and said hello. He's feeling fine. Oh, I really enjoyed meeting Brandon and his wife. I hope that I get to spend more time with them. Justin says, I've reached out to MCSO to ask if Daybell is sick in regard to Judge Boreski's quarantine comment. We've been told that Daybell is reportedly not feeling well today, hence the delay. So that's it. I'm going to keep everybody posted. You can be certain that if I hear more about this, I will definitely post on my YouTube, as well as if it's significant enough, I will go live on that. So Tammy says on his Facebook page, Nate says Lori's not feeling well. So thank you. Traveler, I should have clarified. I meant, could a learning disability, et cetera, be contributing to Lori struggling with comprehension, writing, et cetera, that we've all been discussing recently? Honestly, I don't know if she ever was tested for any kind of learning disability or if she actually has one. From her writing when we were kids, I don't think she had dyslexia. I think just a general lack of understanding. And we're going to see in the hearing, as we're going to go to it here in just another minute, that Lori, I think, has a lack of understanding of the definition of words and just generally doesn't understand some things. Lori is not claiming she's autistic. She would never claim that. And she doesn't want her mental health records even to be out there and to be exposed. And so she would not claim that she has any kind of a disability, I don't believe, or autism or anything like that. Sorry, guys, just reading through to see if you guys know more than I do, because sometimes you do. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go back to that hearing, because that was my original plan, was to play the hearing while we were waiting for jury selection to finish up, because I have not covered it yet. So we're going to go back to the hearing, to the video of the hearing, and then I have a small clip to play from Mike King's channel that's going to explain some of the legality of what she was talking about yesterday. Lori did undergo some psychiatric treatment, but it was only to restore her to competency for her trial in Idaho. And competency only means that she understands the charges and she will participate in her defense. And I think part of the factor was that she wasn't participating in her defense. She refused to participate because she didn't think she was guilty. She didn't think she'd done anything wrong. She didn't deserve to be there. That's all, to just get treatment to restore her to competency. So I don't know how much deep digging they did. Probably not a lot. There's probably not a lot she can do to be healed mental health wise, because she won't admit she has a problem. And that's one of the markers of people with personality disorders, is that they don't think there's anything wrong with their behavior. They think that everyone else is doing it wrong. And so it's hard to get them to go to treatment. And if they do go, it's usually because they've been ordered to go by a court or some other thing. And even then, when you go for mental health treatment, you have to participate in your healing. You can't just go to therapy, listen to what the therapist says, go home and come back the next week or the next month. That's not how that works. You have to do a lot of work on the outside in order to get that healing. I should mention, if you want to know more about how to spot and defend against manipulation, if you've got people with personality disorders in your lives, I have an entire e-course. It's 8 modules. It's over 16 hours of content about how to defend against manipulation and control, how to build the skills and the resiliency that you need in order to deal with people like this in your life. Now, not all of us have murderers in our life, thank goodness, but almost all of us deal with someone like Lori at some point or another, either as a boss or a coworker or a relative, a family member of some kind. And it's so important to be able to have the skills to defend against that type of behavior, because as we've kind of talked about before, watching this process play out with Lori in the courtroom is what people deal with all day, every day, when they're related or married to someone with a personality disorder. So I do have an e-course on that, and you can email me, and I'll put up my email address to get information about the course. I used to just have it up. I used to just have a link that you could click on, but I moved my e-course to a different platform. And so you need to email me now to get access. And I know some of you have emailed me about it, and I am working on getting just a clickable link where you can click, pay, and go straight to the e-course. So as soon as that's ready, it should be ready, I hope, by Monday. And you can just email me in the meantime. So just looking for a second to make sure that's the last word. And I think it is. I think we're good as far as jury selection goes. So I'm going to go back now to the hearing. Thank you for saying this. I love Dr. Ramani. I have learned so much from watching her. Dr. Ramani said once that all her narcissistic patients, only one ever admitted to it and tried to change, and even then they made very little progress. And that is definitely the case, unfortunately, for a lot of people. So I'm going to go back to the hearing now, and I do have some commentary. So if you registered on my website, you do not need to email me also. You can go to my website at third-verse.com. There's a place that you can sign up for a free consultation if you want one-on-one coaching with me. And you can also sign up for the e-course there for information about the e-course. You just have to put that in there. There's a little box that you can put a comment. And so you can just comment that you're interested in the e-course. And my next e-course about healthy relationships is going to come out soon as well. I'm going to be starting that course up here as soon as the trial is over, and I'm really excited to dig into that with everybody as well. So it's going to be great. So let me stop sharing this one, and I will share the hearing page. Okay, so here we go, back to the hearing.
Is alleged an accomplice, your brother. If the jury were to find you guilty as charged, again, my understanding of the state's allegation is your brother attempted to shoot Mr. Boudreaux. You weren't in Arizona. So if the jury found you guilty of this charge, it would mean they found you guilty as an accomplice. If someone shot at the next aggravator, I don't think it's a leap for a jury to presume there's some sort of emotional harm. So I'm struggling with what legal sufficiency you think is lacking for a jury to make those determinations. Again, only if the jury found you guilty of the charge that you're charged with.
I understand, Your Honor, but in 13.5, right, whether capital or non-capital, the state has the burden to establish probable cause, the legal sufficiency of an amended indictment. This is an amendment. This didn't go to the grand jury. Is that correct?
Right.
So now I have the right to ask for a hearing so the probable cause can be found for these aggravators ahead of time.
So you're confusing two things.
Okay.
All right. 13.5B talks about amending the charge or the indictment.
Mhm.
Okay. Your charge is conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. It's not, your charge is not being amended. The grand jury did find probable cause for that charge.
Correct.
An aggravator is not an amendment to the indictment.
It's a whole nother allegation. It's a whole separate allegation.
Difference between an aggravator and changing the charge that you're charged with. If the state were to change the charge that you're charged with, for example, if they changed it from conspiracy to commit first-degree murder to conspiracy to commit second-degree murder, there'd probably need to be a new probable cause finding.
Correct.
Secondly, as to the allegation that it's a dangerous offense, the grand jury did make that finding because that allegation was included in the indictment that it was a dangerous offense. So there has been probable cause as to the dangerous factor.
Okay, if that is the case, then why isn't that found in the original guilt phase as opposed to having a whole nother aggravation phase after that, as if it's a capital offense? Because there's one statute,
Well,
there's one sentence, there's no arguing the sentence, and if it's already a dangerous crime, then there's no reason to have an aggravator phase.
What do you mean there's no arguing and there's one sentence? I don't understand what you're saying.
There's one sentence for
Oh,
the charge. There's only one sentence for this charge. And if it's already classified as a dangerous charge is what you're telling me, right? Because it's conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, that's a dangerous charge. The jury has already found that it's a dangerous charge. Then what is the aggravator phase finding? If it's already a dangerous charge and there's only one sentence.
does the state want to respond why the state wants to proceed with aggravators?
To start with, the jury is not going to make a finding of dangerousness as part of the guilt phase per case law. That's not permitted. So the jury has to make a separate independent finding after they find the defendant guilty. The dangerous finding will include the use of a weapon and or the intentional infliction of or threatened infliction of physical injury. So at the very least, the jury has to make a finding as to dangerousness.
I agree about dangerousness. I guess the question is, why does the state want to prove up aggravators if the jury finds the defendant guilty of the charge as a dangerous offense, given the sentence?
Your Honor, in all honesty, you could ask me this, 10 years ago before Blakely was put out. As case law changes on appeals, I've had to come back before and redo a penalty phase, an aggravation phase, and re-impanel a jury. So I prefer to, since we're already going to have an aggravation phase for the dangerous allegation, to add on the other factors, and therefore I don't have to ever worry about this coming back on appeal later.
All right.
How is it not already found to be dangerous? You just said that if they find me guilty, then it will be dangerous.
I didn't say that. I said if they find you guilty, then they make a determination whether or not it's dangerous. Now, I think what I meant was when a crime involving a weapon is used, whether it's a gun, usually it's sort of a foregone conclusion that if the jury found you guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder by someone shooting at another individual, that they're 99.9% likely to find that it was a dangerous offense. But it's something the jury has to do.
Right, but usually aren't aggravators for sentencing? What other purpose does it serve in this case with this charge, with one statute? You can't give me less time, you can't give me more time, you can't.
I just want to pause here because this is what I said last time about the aggravating phase as well. Lori did not want to go through the aggravation phase. She went ahead and stipulated that it was an aggravated assault, it was that the crime was an aggravated. I'm sorry, my brain just short-wired for a second. Lori stipulated to the aggravation factors because I think, in my opinion, she did not want to hear from Jerry Vallow, who was going to testify and give a victim impact statement to testify as to the aggravating factors. I think Lori just didn't want to hear that. And so that's why she stipulated to everything. She's like, it's over. I just want to be done. I think that's why she's arguing here. Why do we even need an aggravation phase? However, it's a legality. It used to be, Judge Boreski just explained this, it used to be that the judge determined aggravating factors, and now the jury determines aggravating factors. So I agree with you, Sarah, she should have to hear from the victims. But now I'm going to play a clip from Mike King's episode because he explained this beautifully. And I looked up the same thing, but I liked the way he explained it, so I'm just going to play his clip. I really like Mike King. He and I have appeared on Court TV on Vinnie Politan together several times, and I really like the work that he does.
Sought a probable cause hearing under Rule 13.5.
Sorry. I always listen to everything at 2x when I'm preparing this stuff. So I'll go back just a little bit.
Talk about the later one first. Lori Daybell sought a probable cause hearing under Rule 13.5 of the Arizona Rules of Criminal Procedure. Now, again, I'm not an attorney, but I'm smart enough to look things up. She argued that since the prosecution had introduced aggravating factors that weren't given to the grand jury, that she's entitled to have a hearing. Well, Rule 13.5 of the Arizona Rules of Criminal Procedure actually outlines when and how criminal charges can be amended in these kinds of cases. Essentially, it governs what happens if the state wants to change an indictment, want to change the information or the complaint before a case goes to trial. The rule allows the prosecution to make amendments to correct mistakes or add additional detail, and that's really important here. They can do that as long as those changes don't alter the basic nature of the offense. And in this case, nothing will change the basic nature of the offense. And that's an important distinction in this hearing that just happened. If the amendment merely clarifies or corrects a charge and it doesn't prejudice the defendant's rights, it's usually permitted without a whole lot of fanfare. However, if the state overstepped their bounds and tried to amend the charge in a way that actually changes the legal character of the offense, for example, shifting from second-degree murder to first-degree murder, well, that's a lot bigger deal. In such a case, that Rule 13.5 would require a probable cause determination to determine if any significant change to the charges still met the threshold that was there in the original charge. And that's where this whole thing boils down to. Now,
okay, so And I just wanted to play that because I thought he explained it really well, and now we'll go back to the hearing.
Do anything else except for, it's one statute.
I guess the
rewind
prosecutor's
just a
saying
tiny
she wants
bit.
to cover her bases in case there's some change, I guess the prosecutor's saying,
You can't give me less time, you can't give me more time, you can't do anything else except for, it's one statute.
I guess the prosecutor's saying she wants to cover her bases in case there's some change in the law and what a jury has to find or not find for purposes of sentencing. And they have the right to proceed with aggravators. All right, you're right in that if you're found guilty of this charge at this level, you get one sentence. But who knows what a court of appeals would do in the future if aggravators or things weren't presented. I don't know that what would be presented at a sentencing phase from your side or from the state's side, but it sounds like the prosecutor's wanting to cover her bases.
So then I'm not entitled to a hearing before trial starts to find probable cause for these aggravators that were not taken to the grand jury initially?
All right,
I'm asking.
I'm trying to explain it to you. The jury did find probable cause that this was a dangerous offense. It's included in your indictment. So they did find.
They didn't find these specific aggravators being a dangerous offense, and these specific aggravators
what I said,
are different,
what I was saying?
right?
I didn't interrupt you. Can I finish? Okay. The jury did find probable cause on the dangerous allegation. All right. You're not entitled to a probable cause hearing on the other aggravators.
When is conspiracy to commit murder not a dangerous crime?
When someone says they're going to choke someone to death and they don't actually do it.
Okay, so again, I agree with you guys. She should be asking these questions of her advisory counsel. This is not the judge's responsibility to explain this to her. But he's being gracious and he's being more than fair. And other than just now saying, "Can I finish?" And he has been very patient. Even that, I think, was a patient response. He could have just shut her down, but he's still being patient with her.
It's not a dangerous crime.
So
no dangerous instrument or deadly weapon was used.
So because some instrument may or may not have been used in this crime, it's considered a dangerous crime?
Right.
And these aggravators that talk about something totally different don't have to be found after that it's found a dangerous crime?
Correct.
And that is supported by case law?
Yes.
So that what? When you go to appeal, you can't say it was a non-dangerous crime?
All right. I don't know what to tell you. All right. There was a case that came out about 15 to 20 years ago now called Blakely that said a jury had to determine aggravating factors. Okay. Before that, a judge determined aggravating factors at sentencing. Now a jury has to determine it. The reason it's not done in the guilt phase is we don't want the jury to confuse the issues. We want the jury to decide first whether someone's guilty or not guilty, whether the state has proved its burden beyond a reasonable doubt. We don't want them to start thinking about other things like aggravators if they have questions about whether or not the person's even guilty. It tends to confuse the jury and confuse the issues for them. So that's why we do the aggravators in a separate hearing. First, you want to make sure the state has proved its burden beyond a reasonable doubt as to your charge.
But these specific aggravators that they allege, right, the ones that you just went over, you're saying that now after you're found guilty of a dangerous crime, that they're going to go back in, and what is the purpose of that? How does it change anything after that?
I don't know how else to explain it to you. So do you have other issues that you want to bring up today?
Yes, but I would like to finish this first. So are you denying my motion to have a hearing on this?
I'm denying your motion to have a probable cause hearing as to the state's alleged aggravators.
Okay, so you're denying my motion to have a 13.5 hearing on these alleged aggravators
Correct.
before trial starts.
Because you're not entitled to one.
That was just a mic drop moment. Thank you, Judge. Boom. You're not entitled to one. The end.
Okay.
13.5 says that you're entitled to a probable cause hearing if they amend or change the indictment.
This is not an amendment of the indictment?
It's not. There's a difference
It's an
between,
extension of the indictment. It's not in the indictment.
it's a difference, okay, between an aggravator and changing the charge that you're charged with. Changing the charge that you're charged with is an amendment to the indictment. For example, if you were just charged with conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, all right, but the state didn't allege with the grand jury that it was a dangerous offense, you'd be entitled to a probable cause hearing as to that dangerous allegation because it's changing the charge and it's changing the sentence that you would be getting. These
That's
aggravators,
exactly my point. After the fact, these aggravators, if they're found, what do they do to change the charge or change the sentence or change anything?
probably nothing in reality. You just said it. They don't change the charge. So you're not entitled to a probable cause hearing.
Okay, then I don't want to have an aggravation phase either.
Well, you can
How
not.
are you entitled to that? And I'm not entitled to a hearing on probable cause, but you're entitled to have an aggravation phase.
Okay. Well, if you don't want to attend, you don't have to attend. What else?
All right.
That shut her up.
Something dealing with trial is that I've asked several times for headsets for my advisory council. I know that's been an issue that you said we can only have 5 headsets. Is there some way we can do that? Because it's very difficult for them to advise me on things when they kind of don't know what's going on.
If you need a break to consult with your advisory council, we can do that. I can only give so many headsets.
You said you were going to check into that. Is that something that
They
you did
said
check
they-
into and
they
there's no
can't
more
do-
available headsets?
They can't do more than 5 on that particular system or network that they have. I need my court reporter to have one so we can do the sidebars. The state's only getting 1. I get 1, so that leaves 2 for you. Whoever you want to have besides yourself, you can choose one of your advisory council or your paralegal.
But you're forcing me to choose between the people that are helping me?
Sure.
Okay, I have to pause here because I don't know if you guys remember this, but in opening statements of the first trial, Lori said, she started to say something to the effect of, you can't imagine what it's like to have to choose between protecting or choose between the people that you love, something to that effect. I don't remember the exact verbiage of it, but Trina Kay objected vociferously to that, to get that shut down. Yeah, choosing between the people that she loves, basically trying to get the narrative out there that she was trying to choose between protecting her daughter and protecting her, or something like that. And, you know, whatever it was, Trina Kay didn't let her get it out. So she's on this, are you forcing me? You're forcing me to do this. This is another tactic that manipulators use, is that they're going to put everything back on you and blame it on you. You're forcing me to do this. No, nobody's forcing you to do anything. And that's why I love Judge Bareski's response. He just goes, sure. Sure. I mean, you can't really argue with a one-word answer. And somebody said it in the comments earlier. Narcissists don't expect, nor do they like, one-word answers, because then they can't really argue. There's no, what they're trying to do is draw supply out of you by getting you heated and argumentative so that they can use things against you. And Judge Bareski is not falling for it. He is being way too patient with her, though. I really wish that he would have stopped and earlier, but he did eventually stop explaining to her and just say, you're going to have to just ask your advisory council about that. So I just wanted to call attention to the fact that she has this narrative. Again, you're forcing me to choose. And he's like, sure, whatever. Here's the other thing, guys. There are 5 headsets in this courtroom. The judge gets 1. The court reporter gets 1. The prosecutor gets 1. Lori gets 1. And then she can give that 5th headset to whomever else she wants to. And it is nobody's fault that that's just, the system is set up for 5 headsets. There's no way to get an additional headset in there. And also there's no reason for more than one of her advisory council to have a headset in the first place. Nor does her investigator need one, nor does her paralegal need one. they can advise her if one of the attorneys has the headset. And I want to point out too, she's probably not listening to their advice anyway, so it probably doesn't really matter. Oh, goodness. Sorry, guys. I get a little bit activated with this stuff. Yeah, she gets 2 headsets and nobody else gets 2. She does, and she's still going to complain, which is just another thing to say. You know, narcissistic people are never satisfied. They can never be satisfied. They can never be pleased. It is like trying to pour water into a bucket with holes. You are never going to fill that bucket up. So just stop trying.
Okay.
Technically, I don't know I even have to do that. You represent yourself. You're considered your own attorney. You don't even have the right to consult. I shouldn't say that. You have the right to consult with them, but it's not a necessary thing. Because you are acting as your own attorney, you're expected to proceed as your own attorney. They don't have an affirmative duty to even give you advice under the case law for being an advisory council. The fact that they do is probably helpful to you, okay? But you chose to represent yourself. It means you are supposed to act as your own lawyer.
You appointed them and assigned them to me. I did not ask for them.
Okay, yeah, I did, in case you decided not to represent yourself so they could step in at trial.
Okay, well then is an alternative that we could do sidebars at the bench so that they could be involved during
I
that
think it
time.
depends on the complexity of the question. If it's a simple jury question that, like, for example, can we have a copy of the police report? The answer to that is always no. So I think I'll have to take it on a question by question and issue by issue basis. So if it's an issue where we need everyone at the bench, yes, we can do that. But if it's a simple, quick response that we can do with the headsets, we'll do that.
Okay. I have one more issue.
Go ahead.
Of course you do.
Seeing as how things went in the last trial, my question is, what does the state intend to bring in from Idaho so that I can prepare my questions without being accused by you of opening the door? How can we avoid that when almost every witness has testified in my Idaho trial? And I don't want to be responsible for doing that. So how are we going to handle that?
Well, I will tell the prosecutor to make sure a caution is given to each witness that no matter what the question is, that witness should not think it's a question that would require an answer about prior testimony or prior proceedings. State agrees, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
I guess they can be further advised that if they think you or the state is asking a question that calls for that sort of answer about prior testimony or a prior proceeding, that maybe we should take a break.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, here's an idea. If you don't want the door open, don't open the door. How about that, Lori? How about just don't open the door? Problem solved.
Anything else?
That was it.
All right, we'll see everyone.
She said if all parties can use all the jury for that also means that we can bring in the survivors whatever time tomorrow, since they haven't put out a message yet, or excuse everybody.
Okay, so I'm being informed that the jury commissioner said if the parties stipulate to not bringing in any jurors tomorrow, we can do that. Remember last time, though, we screened whatever number we had. A few of those people didn't show up, even though they were informed they needed to show up. So we have 66. I think because it's a shorter trial, we don't necessarily need 4 alternates, but maybe we should just in case. I don't know.
Judge, I would still want 4, given that we lost
We
2 in the
lost-
first 2 days.
We did.
I don't want to waive any appeal issue that it wasn't random for whatever reason. I didn't understand your total reasoning, but how it's saying like the county by county or something, or
No,
section by section,
the theory is that there's
one county.
maybe certain demographic.
I don't know why the pool camera just wandered off, but we'll keep listening.
Of people, and I don't know who it is, that wouldn't respond to an email or online, or they think it's a scam, so they want to show up at the courthouse to do their jury service, or maybe they don't have access to the internet to begin with. So the theory is that you're missing some sort of group of people that aren't responding remotely and instead would show up at.
Okay, so I did know that this cut off before the judge was finished talking, but I didn't realize that it was a camera issue. So from what I understand, nothing else really significant happened there. They were talking about jury selection and how that was going to happen. So anyway, I wanted to play that for you guys so that we could just have a little bit of commentary about what went on there. There are some things I'm going to clip out and make a shorter video of, just because I know we're already at an hour and 50 minutes on 1 hour and 50 minutes on this live. And I know some people will not want to watch the entire thing with the interruption of what happened in jury selection today. By the way, in case anybody was wondering which of the minifigs I got, I've been playing with this the entire time. It was this little guy. And originally when I opened it, I thought that these were dumbbells and that he was a weightlifter, and that he came with a weight bench, because that's what was on my brain. I was like, I need to go lift some weights. It's actually a skateboard. That's how addled my brain is after listening to Lori. So yeah, anyway, thank you for this, Joel. I just realized how hard this must be for you. Lori's your cousin. You loved her. You are forced to have hard feelings for her because of her crimes. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry this is so very hard. And that is the reason. I did love Lori. She was my cousin. I loved all my cousins. I loved all my family members, and especially growing up in a religion where family was everything. I was always happiest when we had our whole family together, and when there was nobody missing. And that was pretty rare for that to happen. But it just always felt complete and whole to me. Now, this was before I knew how unhealthy my family was. But there was just something about that feeling of all of us being together and feeling like we were all loving and supporting each other. That's the reason this has been so hard for me, because when Lori and Alex killed Charles, they killed our family too. And especially when they killed the kids, they killed our family forever. It'll never be the same. Because for me, at least, I had to confront the fact that I thought these people were loving and supportive and kind. I thought that we were going to be together forever, right? When I left the church, of course, some of those ideas changed for me, but I always thought at the very least, at the end of the day, like, family is family. We have our back. We have each other's back. We're going to support each other. I thought that I had a safe place to land if things were going wrong in my life. And the events of this case forced me to confront the fact that that wasn't true at all. It was never true. These people were never kind and loving and supportive. I think about the way that Janice would greet people coming into her house, or whenever we saw each other. She would talk all about how you looked, and she was overly effusive in her praise, and it never felt genuine to me. I never liked it. And now I realize why. Now, having been through all of the healing and therapy that I've been through, I realize why my family isn't healthy and that they weren't what I thought they were. And the grief of that is real. And so You know, I talked about when I was at the trial last time, I talked about the comment that Colby made. He said, how would you feel if he was talking about Annie Cushing in the beginning of his video originally, because Annie had questioned him, saying that Tylee had been at his wedding. But then as he went on in his commentary, he said, how would you feel if some random cousin showed up at your family tragedy and pretended to be all affected? And I think he was referencing me. I don't know for sure if he was or not. I'd like to give him the benefit of the doubt. But there are other people too who have questioned, like, why? In fact, Adam texted me and said, this is none of your business. I don't even know why you're involved. This is why I'm involved. I've never claimed to be on the inner circle of the one most affected, who I believe is Colby. He's lost his whole family over this. I've never claimed to be the one most affected. I am on that third concentric circle or so, second or third at least, of this not being my immediate family. But for me, it is the grief of losing my whole family. So it is hard. Sorry guys, if you come to my channel, you're going to get tears sometimes, and I'm not ashamed of it. And I shouldn't have even apologized, because I believe in just freely letting my emotions happen. So the grief comes in waves. And I think that's why I was so angry this morning, is because the concentric circles, the ripples of what Lori has done, there's just so much loss there. Anyway, it is what it is. And what I said to Kresha this morning, I was on her channel for a little while, just hanging out with her. And it's really good to talk with someone who understands. But what I was saying to her is that what she and I are trying to do, and so many other people in this space are trying to do, is that we're trying to take this horrible situation and help people by talking about it, by teaching people where manipulation can lead if it goes on unchecked. And if it is allowed to just continue, if manipulative people are never held accountable, this is where it can lead. And people don't always die, but people do always get hurt. And that's why I'm so passionate about teaching people how to spot these tactics and how to defend against them. Because I don't believe Lori's parents are fully 100% responsible, because they were never taught healthy communication. It's like trying to leave it's like a ditch digger trying to leave a fortune to his children. It's just never going to happen, because he didn't have it to begin with. Lori's parents could not teach her healthy communication because they didn't have it either. Now, I'm not trying to excuse their behavior, but I think that understanding it and explaining it is important, because I think it helps people. So many of you in chat have said things like, I have a similar experience. I have a similar relative. People have said, you helped me understand this person or this situation that I'm dealing with. I know that I'm helping people. So People can say what they want. My own family can say what they want, and I do not care. It still is a grief for me. It's still loss for me. I still have to grieve that. But I sleep fine at night most of the time, except when I'm having weird dreams, which I still want to talk about, by the way. This weird dream that I had the night before jury selection started. And then I went to Grok and asked it to analyze that dream, and it was scarily accurate. So I'm going to probably do that on my Patreon because I don't want that out there in the main internet. I'm not attacking Colby at all. I'm just mentioning what he said about me. I don't know if he meant me or not, but I hope people in the chat are kind to him, because that's ultimately the conclusion that I came to. And I did a video about it concerning their comments. I'm still going to continue to speak kindly about them, because I believe in treating people with kindness and respect. Even if they don't treat me with kindness and respect, I just distance. I just move away, step away. Thank you for this, Hawkeyes. Thank you. I said this too, that I did an interview, maybe some of you saw last week, with a fellow content creator whose name, she's at the Life Take 2 channel. And she had made the decision to step away for mental health reasons, and then she got attacked by another podcast. And I had her on my channel because another podcaster had her on to defend her, and that podcaster got doxxed and attacked and decided to shut down their channel. And what I said was, you can come for me if you want to. I'm not shutting down my channel. I will never stop talking about my experiences. Not ever. Even if YouTube goes away, I'll be out there talking to people. Talk to people one-on-one. When the producer of the CW talked to me about going on the documentary that they did, they have a series called Crime Nation, and the episode was called Fatal Devotion. And I was telling my story to the producer. They had already wrapped production, and he just wanted to use some of my pictures. And I was telling my story to him, and I said, even if you're the only person that I get to talk to about this, I will feel like I've done something good, because he was finding it valuable, what I was saying about the church and what I was saying about the family. And then they ended up having me on anyway. They had already wrapped production, but they had me out, interviewed me, and put some of my things on their documentary. But I'm never going to stop talking about it. I have had family members threaten to sue me. And my response was, these are my experiences, and I have every right to talk about them. And if me talking about my experiences makes you look like an a-hole, that's not my fault, and it's not my problem. I'm using this horrible situation to try and help other people. And that's something that I will never stop doing, because it's just who I am. It's what my character is. And it makes me emotional, because I think it's an incredible and valuable thing to know what your purpose in life is. So anyway, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Over 1,600 of you. I really appreciate it. Please do hit the like button, if you will. It helps more people to get this kind of content that they're looking for. I had a beautiful idea this morning when I was up in the attic trying to put up some radiant barrier. I remembered that there was this huge box of dishes up there that was left by whoever was that owned the house before. Oh, thank you, Puzzle Pieces. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. And I was like, oh, what am I going to do? It's like this giant box of dishes. And then I was telling Kresha how angry I was feeling this morning, and I had this beautiful idea. I'm going to do a live stream. I'm going to set up a plate smashing situation somewhere around here. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet because I don't want to be picking up pieces of glass all the time. But I'm going to write some things that I dislike about Lori and smash the plate. And then I will allow you to give suggestions for plate smashing. I will take super chats, and whoever does a super chat, I will write it on the plate. I'm going to donate all of those super chats that day to something. I haven't decided yet what. I know that Tammy has a foundation, Tammy Daybell does. But I don't yet have a place to give money that I feel is in honor of the kids. And that's what I've been looking for. Now, I do have a nonprofit myself. It is defunct at the moment, just meaning like I had it all set up, but it's not a 501c3 yet. And I set it up initially, the proceeds of my book, to go to my nonprofit, which was set up to help people pay for therapy services if they couldn't afford it. And yes, I will be wearing safety goggles. But again, I had a bunch of people donate to it, and I was able to pay for therapy for several people, and it felt really great. I loved that, but I just didn't have enough time to dedicate to it. And so it's there, it's still set up. It's an entity in the state of Texas, but I haven't done anything with it, and it doesn't have a bank account anymore because I used all the money to pay for those therapy services, and then I closed it down. So I could fire it back up again, but I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do. I do think that Tylee and JJ and Charles need some kind of something. So I don't know if I could repurpose that nonprofit. It's called the Beauty for Ashes Fund. And I could repurpose that to be in honor of Tylee and JJ and Charles, but I haven't figured it out yet. So anyway, if you have suggestions, or if there's anybody out there who knows about nonprofits and making them 501c3s and all of that paperwork and learning curve that I don't have time for, that would be wonderful. I'd love to have anybody's help if they want to give it. So I really appreciate you guys being here. We're just a little over 2 hours. And what I would like to do is I am definitely going to, I have some more videos that I want to make over the weekend, but I will definitely be back with commentary and coverage on Monday. And if I do hear anything about what happened today or anything else, of course, I will definitely be reporting on that as well. You can just watch my YouTube channel. Sometimes I will do a post there. If you are able to financially support the channel, please visit my Patreon. I put a lot of personal stuff over there, cooking and singing and piano playing and stuff like that. Let me see if I can find it here. It's patreon.com/themidliferevolution. I do also have you can also donate here on the channel. You can do super chats and super stickers, as some people have already done. And I do have a Venmo. It is at @3rd_verse. That's where all of my social media is, here on YouTube, as well as Instagram and TikTok, on which I'm not as active as I am on here just because I don't have time. But I am getting ready to go do the dinner thing. So I will see you for sure on Monday morning. And if not, before then, just if you hit the notifications, you'll know when I go live. If I hear anything else, I definitely will let you know. So I appreciate all of your support and your kindness, especially being kind to each other and supporting each other in the chat. I really appreciate that. Again, you can email me if you have suggestions about nonprofits and things like that at askmegan@gmail.com. I hope you have a beautiful day, and please take care of yourself. See you soon.